And we are back with another outstanding episode of the Square Table Degenerates. Today, we welcome to the show Cleveland broadcast legend, Denise Dufala. How are you today, ma'am?
Does legend mean I'm old? I'm
Legend.
doing.
Anybody who's willing to talk to me is a legend. It is. It
There
is. And
we
for those
go.
wondering,
Thank you. I'm doing well. How are you?
oh, pretty good. For those wondering why I'm on this really barreled view, it's StreamYard's being a butthead today. I don't know what's going on, man. It's been like that all weekend, so we'll just rock and roll and have some fun. Hopefully, everybody can still hear me and hear Denise, and we can rock and roll, man. It's a lovely day here in North Olmsted, man. The weather was good all weekend. I think it was a good weather weekend,
Yeah,
right? Like yesterday we
really
was up in
great.
Detroit.
I think it's freezing, Joe. You might have to go to Plan B. Joe, do you want to try a different computer?
Okay, maybe back now. Maybe back now. Can we hear me now? Okay, good, good.
Yeah. Do you want to try a
Oh,
different computer or you want to go forward?
we keep going. We keep going. If this keeps spinning, we'll figure out something else. But yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's breaking
all
up.
right. Okay, let me try going back on the laptop here. Hold on.
Okay.
Bear with me.
No, I think that's best because I can barely hear you and it's freezing a lot.
All right, can you see me or hear me? Good.
Yes, much better. Actually, the audio's better too. The audio was really like
Okay.
before.
Perfect. All right. Starting again. Welcome everybody back to another episode. We just introduced the lovely Denise Dufala. Now we're in Cleveland. The weather's great. North Dumpstead's awesome. That's where I think where I left off. Now, is fall your favorite season? Because I
It
really dig
is.
the fall. I do. Football. I mean that stereotypical meme with it's hoodie weather and hair rides and apple cider. And I do like one or two of the three things on the 17-point fall list. But why is fall your favorite season? Like it's a great time of year, right?
Well, it is. In fact, I was a North Olmsted football cheerleader back in the day
Okay.
because I graduated from North Olmsted High School, and that was probably my most fun time of year. Homecoming and just I love the change of seasons. I love the cooler weather. Not necessarily the winter. I do like the winter, but I really love fall. That's my favorite season. Spring, I'm sneezing like crazy. I have horrible allergies. So fall is really it for me. I love jumping in leaves and pumpkins and all things fall.
I like the fall because it's like in the spring, it just doesn't stop raining, right? Like from April and May.
Yeah, that's true. That's
I
true.
mean,
It's very
I mean,
wet.
think about any big rainstorm in this area, and my God, it's always April and May. It just doesn't stop.
Yeah.
I remember this vividly because I got back from the desert in 2011, and Kim didn't mow while I was gone, but while I got back, it was like May, and it kept raining. I didn't mow until like July because
Yeah.
the yard didn't even drain. It's
It's
ridiculous, man.
impossible. Yeah, that's right. Fall is just I mean, what's not to like? It's perfect, you know?
Amen. All right, so you did touch on North Olmsted. That's the thing that told me that you were from, just like me. My dad.
Yep.
Well, I'm not. I think well, my dad grew up here, and then like my kids grew up here,
Okay.
and like a bunch of awesome people I know. So let's start with some North Olmsted stuff. Local lore and stuff like that. Like, what are your earliest
Well,
memories of like Great Northern Mall and when they started to build up all the consumer area in this town?
okay, so I lived on Ranch View and that's the street where there was a Lawson's at the top of the street. It's very close to where the Volkswagen dealership is on Lorraine.
Hmm?
And when the mall was being built, the strip was already there. But when the mall was going up, you could literally see the mall being built from my house way down on Ranch View because there was nothing obstructing it on Lorraine Road. So you could just see right across Lorraine Road, the mall going up. It was, crazy back in the day. Um, Behind the Volkswagen dealership, I think it's still there, is a huge woods, and our house backed up to it and our yard did. And my dad knew Mr. Lingelbach, who owned the property there. I don't know if the family still owns it. Mrs. Lingelbach was my second grade teacher at Co School. I think that was his daughter. But my dad knew him and asked him if he could put a garden back there on the property. So we had this huge, like Olympic swimming pool size garden back there. My dad would grow everything under the sun. And then he had a separate little garden off to the right with the berries and the pumpkins and things like that, squash. So I just have a lot of fond memories. When I was first born, we lived on 231. And my dad bought that property many, many years ago when it was farmland. North Homestead was all farmland.
Yeah.
And then he built the house with my uncles, and the house is still there. It recently sold. We were able to go in and look at it when it was for sale. That was really cool. My mom was still alive at the time, so she got to see it. And it's amazing, don't you think, Joe, when you go back to see a place where you used to live, how small it looks compared to how big it is in your memory, right?
Oh yeah. Oh,
Like,
100%. 100%.
yeah, when you're a little kid, everything's huge, right? And I mean, it's a good sized house, don't get me wrong. It's just that it seems so much bigger in my memories. So we moved from West 231 to Ranch View, and I lived there all the way through high school and college.
That's all. Yeah, I'm on Maple Ridge, so like I know exactly
Oh
where
yeah,
231 is. Yeah,
you're right there.
I'm probably five. Hell, I think I got buddies over there.
You're a
I'm
quick bike ride away. I used to cut
100%.
down Route Road and go the back way, and
Root Road. My aunt
yeah,
still to this day. My aunt still lives. My aunt Charlotte still lives on Root Road to this day. She's like 88.
yep,
My goodness,
it's awesome.
because my dad's dad died when he was real young. So like my aunt Char raised because she was quite a bit older than him. Back then these families they had 4, 5, 6, 7 kids.
Sure, we
So
had
like
6 kids.
the difference between the oldest and the youngest sometimes it's like a surrogate mom and dad. So like
That's
he
what we
grew up
call
there,
Irish twins.
right? That's how my kids are within 15
Yeah,
months or within 11 months. It's like the same because it was like
yeah,
15 days when they both got the same age.
yeah.
Yeah.
My older siblings are like boom, 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 4 in a row, literally. So I get that. But do you remember back in the strip when we used to go to Frankie's? Frankie's
Frank.
Pizza was there. And so after all of our track meets and stuff like that, the track team would go up there and get pizza at Frankie's, and Aleshi's was still there. And it was just, a lot of fond memories there. And then later, when the mall was built, I worked in Great Northern Mall at a store called Foxmore, which is long gone, but it was owned by the same company as Tom McCann and Chess
Okay.
King, Melville Corporation. And
Okay.
before that, I worked at that McDonald's on Lorraine Road, right by
Okay.
the police station.
Yeah, I never worked at the mall. I don't think. I'm trying to think now because you got me thinking. Because I remember we used to go to the food court. I
Yeah.
love that Taco Bell right in
Yep.
the far corner. Because my
And a
dad
good
makes me,
friend. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say it makes me laugh because my dad would give me $5 allowance, and I was like 11, 10 or 11 or 12. I can't remember the exact age, but we would go
Oh,
down.
yeah.
I'd take me and my brother would go on the bus, and like because he was like 5, he was 6. I would tell the bus driver he was 5, so you get him for free. And we would just go to Great Northern, just
Yeah.
get like a taco and a pop, and just sit there, just bits and pop. That's funny.
And it was safe, you could do that back then as little kids, go walking around Lorraine Road and all that stuff. I used to take the bus. I think it was the 75 that went down
Yeah.
Lorraine. And I would ride the bus to McDonald's to work. And I had the navy blue with white piping McDonald's uniform that was 100% polyester. You would wash the thing, right? And then you would dry it and put it on, and it smelled like you never washed it. It's like you smelled like a fry vat no matter
Mm.
what. Yeah, there was no, no getting that smell or oil or grease residue out of the McDonald's uniform. One day when I was working at McDonald's, so I was a cheerleader also at North Olmsted, and we had to wear saddle shoes back in the day. So I was working after my cheerleading practice and I was wearing the saddle shoes. Big mistake because when you're working at McDonald's, those floors, inevitably get a little, and they're tile because they need to be able to clean them easily. So tile floors and saddle shoes do not mix. So I went flying, whoosh, like feet up, boom, back on the ground. But, if you had time to lean, you had time to clean. That was their motto.
Man, it because I my first job besides the paper route was the was Long John Silver's,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and you talk about that oil that because I think Long John Silver's cooked everything to this day they still do. They like all the chicken, fish, hush puppies, all that crap,
Yeah.
all cooked in
Any
vegetable oil.
restaurant, yeah,
Oh
any
yeah,
restaurant, you're going to have floors that are a little bit
oh,
greasy. And I
man, that
know a lot of them now have that like black plastic matting, like honeycomb matting that they put down so you don't fall. But
nightmares. You're giving me nightmares.
yeah,
I'm telling you, like I did 20 years in the guard. I've had many jobs throughout my career. To this day, Long John Silver's when I was high school, 15, 16, 17. Still the worst job ever. We close at 9:30. We get out at
really?
1 o'clock in the morning. 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes because we
Oh,
run out of hot
wow.
water to clean the grease. So we just
Oh,
oh my goodness.
yeah, no,
Oh,
I didn't work that late because, a lot of times I worked on school nights, but a lot of fond memories of North Olmsted, and my brother still lives there and I still visit often. My mom lived there up until she passed away in 2021.
okay.
And I still, later today, I'm going to Dick's Sporting Goods in Great Northern Mall. And, I still frequent quite a bit.
I was just at Dick's yesterday or the day before, and they don't have any shirts that are my size. Like Dick's come up with some more. Well, maybe it's the they don't have any shirts on my size on the clearance rack, but they
Oh,
was
yeah. Oh, I'm a
man, it's
big clearance rack person too. I go straight for the clearance rack. My husband makes fun of me. He's like, if it's over $15, you won't buy it, right? I'm like, right. It's got to be under $15. Oh, I'm terrible. No, he's joking, but I
right,
do
right,
look for
right.
those bargains, and I go to that TJ Maxx all the time. The one in
I
North
go to
Olmsted.
there's a Burlington I go to, and sometimes they'll have it.
Yeah,
But
it's back there.
me and the kids will do this. We haven't done it in a while. We'll have to do it again, but we'll do a worst clothing contest. And we'll each give them $10, and we'll draw names, and like we have to pick something out that's so audacious and ridiculous, and then just wear it to the ball. Oh, it's
Yeah.
fun times. Man.
Oh, you have to
I
wear it
got
shopping?
yeah,
Oh,
I get this
wow.
shirt. Nikki bought me this shirt. It looks like it's like a 4X DJ Khalid shirt, and has all these fake. Oh, it looks so ridiculous. It's
And
hilarious, man.
do they take pictures of you when you're wearing it, or like
Oh
do
yeah,
they
oh
take
yeah, oh
pictures
yeah.
of the kids if they draw the short straw?
Oh yeah, Jimmy has that. There's a shirt that says "Let's keep cruising." It's got like Fred Flintstone on a big green background. Oh, it's just it's great, man. It's great. Burlington, Burlington. So the part about the Burlington that makes me laugh is the men's big and tall because they got such the most ridiculous clothes. I'm like, who would ever even think this is a good idea to make this? And it's still out there. Oh my
Well,
goodness.
there must be a market for it, unless it's on the clearance rack for $2 at this point, then no one's buying it, right?
Right? My goodness. Well,
Right.
besides like the mall, what other areas used to be, with a proverbial? I remember when that used to be woods. What was the woods? Target, Walmart, that kind of stuff in North Olmsted that
Well, the rec
took over.
center, so I lived really close to the rec center, and on West Ranch View, we used to take the dirt bikes that we had. We lived on Ranch View. At the end of the street, there was a rock pile. This was before Tallwood ever went through there and the houses that are there. But the rec center wasn't there. So there was a dirt bike path that we carved through the woods there. And we would dirt bike back there, where the rec center is now.
Okay.
So that's one other, but yeah, like, I mean, I can't really think of any other place that was woods oh, I will say this though, if you know anything about West 231, we are the homecoming float championship street of the world, okay, of the free world. So if you drive down West 231, you'll see all the signs on the posts of all the years that we won the homecoming float, best float.
Okay.
And as a kid, I used to make all those little flowers, the tulle flowers and stuff for the floats, and it was a huge deal. Like all the families on the street got involved in the making of the homecoming float. So that was really a neat part of North Olmsted history to be a part of.
Heck yeah. All right. Now, when were you back then? I know it's a random question, but how old were you when you first took a flight? And like, what capacity were you flying? Like, how old were you?
Uh, First grade was the only flight I ever took as a kid or even in high school. So it was like the one and only time I ever flew on a plane. My mother and my brother David and I went to Florida to see my Aunt Helen, my dad's sister. My dad was working at Ford in Brook Park,
Okay.
and so he couldn't go, but he sent the three of us down to Florida to see my Aunt Helen. And I remember being really scared, because I mean, it was exciting because we were going on an airplane, but that's just not something your average person did back then because it was so expensive. And, we were a very middle class, blue collar family. So it's not like we were taking flights all over the place. It's just not something you did. We went camping. That was our vacations. We had a camper. We went camping. I could probably tell you every state park we've been to. It's crazy. But, and we even camped, like we would drive all the way out west and go to Bryce and Zion and Grand
Okay.
Canyon. And my parents took me to LA. So we got to see the world, but in a different way and by driving. So it was really cool.
Okay.
But yeah, I went
Yeah,
to Florida when I was in first grade.
okay. So now did you? I know it's another random question, but I was high when I was thinking about all that stuff. But do you remember? Are you old enough to remember when they used to be able to smoke on planes? And how unfathomable
Oh
is that
yeah.
to just think about now? Right? Like
Oh
my
well, I mean,
goodness.
when I first worked at Channel 8, people were still smoking in the newsroom.
Oh,
So
jeez.
yeah, heck, I'm old enough to remember the smoking on the plane. But yeah, and I
Oh,
have asthma, and I've had asthma since I was a young kid. So smoking and I just don't really get along. I have a really hard time. Like if I'm outside, this happened recently. I was at an event and I was inside, but there were doors that went to an outside patio, and the bartender outside was smoking, and I was, you know, 50 feet away at least, maybe more. And I was like, there's smoke somewhere. I gotta get out of here. I went and I closed the doors. I'm like, I can't do smoke. It's just I'll start sneezing and hacking and yeah, I just, it's an asthma thing. People who have asthma will understand.
oh, 100%, 100%. I can get it. Well, well. Now, how did you back in those days? Back in the 80s and all that when they were still smoking. How did you? I mean, physically deal with it? Did you just kind of just do your best and sneak in the bathroom and use the inhaler? Like, what was going on there?
I don't remember anybody smoking on the plane ride when we went to Florida. Um, I'm sure I would have remembered if that happened, but uh cars, people would smoke in cars. Nobody in my family smoked though. Like my parents didn't smoke and my
Okay.
siblings didn't smoke that I know of anyway. Um, yeah, I don't recall ever having a real problem. Um, you know, I don't think I had an inhaler till maybe I had an issue at a campground one time with pollen causing an asthma attack. And I remember we were at Finley State Park by Wellington, and there's no hospital. They had like a little outpatient thing or something, and it was closed. And then my mom had to drive me all the way to Oberlin, and that was a hike, all back roads, of course, little small roads. And I remember lying on the back seat of the car, like, really struggling to get breath. But I can't think of any other, that was probably fifth or sixth grade. I can't think of any other times when I just removed myself. Like if I was in a place and it was smoky, I would just leave. So
All right.
that's, I couldn't
Okay.
do that in the newsroom though, but that was hard. I had to like go to another. Fortunately for me, I had a desk. So the main newsroom at Channel 8 is one big room. Then there's like the boss's office off to the side, and I had a desk way back by the I team because I was like a little peon. So they just stuck me where they had a desk. So I was away from all of the smoke predominantly.
Okay, okay. So go back to high school when you're a cheerleader and worked at McDonald's. Did you at some point get your license? And if so, like what were you rolling around in? What kind of car?
Oh yeah, mom took me. It was on my 16th birthday, and I went and got the driving test, and I passed, and I had my license, and she let me take the car right away. And I was driving a 71 Maverick that my dad had been using at Ford, so it smelled like the foundry. That was my ride when I got to borrow the car. I think at one time he had a Falcon because I remember the stick shift on the wheel. What do they call that? On the column, or when it's up
Mhm.
high by the steering wheel. So I did drive that car, but mostly I drove the 71 Maverick.
Okay. You guys were going to the beach. Did you go to Edgewater or are you going to Huntington Beach back then?
We went to Huntington Beach all the time. I don't think I ever went to
Okay.
Edgewater as a kid. I don't know, it just was kind of far away from me compared to Huntington. Huntington back in those days too, this is way before the whole cleanup and everything. So there were a lot of dead fish on the beach, and
Uh,
it's not
right.
nearly as nice as it is now. And by the way, the Metro Parks have done a phenomenal job with everything they touch. I have to say, like the Edgewater's beautiful. That little restaurant bar kind of place up there is
Yep.
really nice, and they've just done a beautiful job. And Huntington is gorgeous now too.
It is. Like the Metro Parks are such a gem. Like I don't think a lot of I mean
Yeah,
some people do, some people don't, but like just appreciate like I mean every river valley we got practically is a park because of the Metro Parks. You know what I mean? They did a great
yeah.
job in the lake. Like I
And the
can't
national park system too. I mean,
it
we
is.
have
Oh,
so many treasures here that if you grew up here, you probably don't realize how fortunate we are compared to other areas.
oh my goodness, right? The whole canal, just go down by the canal and walk by the rivers. It's awesome, man. Get
Yeah.
out there and enjoy life with some of these people, man. 'Cause everybody was complaining and all that. All right, so what are your thoughts coming out of high school and like in your next stages in life? Like what decided on your initial journey and what brought you to Ohio State and brought you on the journalism track? Give me that journey.
So I had a really unusual route, I think, compared to a lot of people. First of all, when I was in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And my mom was a secretary at City Hall. She worked for the engineering department. And she always said, learn how to type, honey. You can always fall back on it, right? She had been a secretary at the Erie Railroad before my parents got married. So she went to St. Stephen's High School. So she really had a great ability to type. And we had the old typewriter, the little black thing, I don't even remember what brand it was. But so when I was in high school, I took cooperative office education. And I took typing, and then I could type 100 words a minute with three or fewer errors, right? So when you're in that track, they have these different schools come around and pitch you like, hey, come to our college, come to our college. So I actually ended up going to Dyke College for one semester because I was going to be a secretary. And I thought, well, maybe I could get a job at like Standard Oil or something like that downtown, right? This is way before Ohio and BP, right? I'm taking you back here. It was still Standard Oil. So anyway, long story short, while I was there at Dyke College, I met a professor, Carl LaCava, who was friends with the news anchor from Channel 8, Tana Carley. And he had Tana come in and give a speech. And I was like, that's it. That's exactly what I want to do. I want to do that. And I came home after school that day and told my parents I was going to go into journalism. And they were like, what? Like, wait a minute here. That was so out of reach. And I remember either my mom or dad saying, honey, there's not a lot of jobs in that field. There are very few jobs. Are you sure you want to try it? And I was like, I'm doing it. And being the baby of six kids and being Irish and Slovak, I can be a little bit stubborn from time to time. So I decided that was it. I had a good friend at Ohio State, my high school cheerleading buddy, Lorelei Skizenta, who's also from North Olmsted, obviously. And she was already at Ohio State. So I transferred to Ohio State. So when I transferred, I had to wait until the fall to go. And so I didn't want to lose time or waste that time and not be in school. So I took some classes at Cleveland State that I knew would transfer, like generic, 100 level classes that you had to have. So I went to Ohio State, and then literally within a few weeks of being there, I met a guy at the corner laundromat who lived in an apartment near me, and he was wearing a jacket with a big six on the back of it, and the stations there were 4, 6, and 10. So I said to him, "Hey, do you work at Channel 6?" And he said, "Yeah, I do." I said, "What do you do there?" He said, "I'm a weekend producer." And I said, "Well, how do I get an internship?" And he said, "Well, really, we need weekend interns because none of the college kids want to work weekends." I said, "I'll work weekends." And he said, "Well, what are you taking in school?" I said, "Journalism." So back then, Ohio State had a school of journalism and a school of communications, and they were separate. Now they're one. But in order to get your internship in the school of journalism, you had to have like 400 level classes. And I didn't have that yet. And he told me a way around it. If I went to the School of Communications, they had a 200 level class with no prerequisite that I could take and get the internship because they can't have you working there for free. You have to have class credit.
All right.
So I got in. That's how I got in right away. And by the time I graduated, I had worked there for 3 years. After my internship, I got hired on the assignment desk. And then I got hired full time as a news promotion producer. So it was really a great experience. And I had a lot of helpful people. When you're that young, sometimes people don't give you the time, but I was lucky to work in a place where a lot of people gave me the time and actually took me under wing and helped me write and learn how to edit and things like that. So it was really a great experience. And some of those people are my friends to this day.
Well, I mean, it's got to be I mean, like you said earlier, it's journalism is not the biggest career field. I mean, I would imagine after a year or two, you probably know most of the players in the business, no?
Well, you do, yeah, you do meet the people from the other stations in the city where you work. Like I knew people from Channel 4 and from Channel 10. I actually worked with Bill Martin, who later went to Channel 8. I worked with Bill at Channel 6, and his wife Judy back then was the weekend anchor at Channel 10. So I knew her. Um, I worked with Mark Strassman, who is still a correspondent for CBS News in New York. I worked with Heather and John D'Amico. They're my friends. They're still out in Texas, and they do their own thing now. They got out of the business. But yeah, if I don't know somebody in a city, I probably know somebody who knows them, that type of thing.
Well, how
So
soon after the Columbus stuff did you get up to Channel 8, and how did that
So,
transpire?
I was lucky through the same professor at Dyke College to be able to meet Virgil Dominic because he knew him through Tana Carley. So I met Virgil and he said, stay in touch. So he said, first he invited me to the station. He said, call me and I'll have you come down to the station and have a tour. So I'll never forget, I had nothing to wear. I didn't have any kind of suit or anything like professional looking. I was, what, 18 or something, 19. So I I went over to Dress Barn, which was in North Olmsted at the time, and I can't remember where it was, but I went to Dress Barn. I bought a suit that I could wear or a dress or something like that. And I went down and had the tour. And then we talked for a while, and he said, well, keep in touch and let me know how you're doing at Ohio State. So since I was working at Channel 6 down there, what I would do is every 3, 4, 5 months or so, I would compile a tape of things that I had done or worked on or had written stories. And then as time went on, I would send him commercials I was making because when I was a news promotion producer, I got to make the daily commercials for the evening news and also like the movie that was going to be on for Friday night movie and teases and headlines and things like that. So I would just sort of send him, "Hey Virgil, this is what I've been doing and blah blah blah." And then he was a big Ohio State fan and so was his son Mark, and they would sometimes come to Columbus and we would have pizza together before the
Okay.
football game. So it was really nice. It's funny too, Joe, because people think that I've read stories where people said I was Virgil Dominic's niece or I was his babysitter or something like that. I'm like, no, actually, I didn't meet him until I was going into college. And his son was much too old for me to be babysitting at that point. You know what I mean?
Right,
Never
right.
his babysitter. They were East Siders. I lived in North Olmsted. That's how we met, and that's the truth.
Hey, when you first get up to Cleveland, were you here for the balloon release? And if not, what were you doing then? And back then, like how many people, like say you got a story, oh, we got a hippo on the roof or whatever. How many people is the news team sending out back then?
Well, it depends how big of a story. Which balloon release are you talking about?
Oh, when they did the like 8 million balloons, we set the record, and then a bunch of people died. Remember that?
I don't remember that. So I was not here for that. I'm not sure what year that would
It
be.
was like a bunch of it was like 8 million helium balloons in '86, and they released them all into the sky. Or it was like a real. It was yeah, I think it was '86, wasn't it? Yeah,
Hmm.
and then the
I started there in September of 86. But you
okay,
said
so
people died?
yeah, because like they went over the lake and the one got caught in the tracking system. I think somebody died out in the lake or something like that.
Oh,
It was a
oh
huge
goodness.
disaster. Yeah, Cleveland balloon disaster. Yeah.
I'll
Well,
have to look that up.
yeah. So okay, so you were there in '86. Okay, so what was like when you first started? What did you think? I mean, because we're old enough to hear our parents talk about Kennedy and all that. Like, what did
Hmm.
you think was going to be the story of your generation? Did you think it was going to be? I mean, but back then, did you think it was going to be some kind of Reagan missile strike, or did you? And like besides 9/11, what would you say is like the biggest story of your career, kind of thing, if that makes sense?
Well, I think for sure 9/11 is probably the biggest story that I ever covered. There had been plane crashes. Like I know there was one in Michigan. I remember Wayne Dawson going to that one. I didn't go. Usually, Terry Anderson being released, the Iran hostage deal.
Yep.
Um, but that was, I think, before I got to Channel 8. The interesting thing about Channel 8 and how Virgil Dominic thought and how the news was processed there is they were really innovative. And I think to some degree they really still are this way. It's Channel 8 I find and it's not a knock against the other stations. It's just that I think they have a larger staff and I think that they have a better long-term planning system in terms of people behind the scenes that are looking ahead. I remember, so I was the first anchor on their morning show, and they had like the 25th anniversary or something. They called me like a year ahead of time and said, "Hey, will you be available next February?" You know what I mean? Like, mark your calendar. That's just the kind of planning that they do there behind the scenes. And I just think the some of the other stations don't have that kind of manpower or the same kind of systems in place. But Terry Anderson was about to be released, and you remember he was from Lorraine. He was one of the Iran hostages. And instead of waiting for him to get off the plane in Cleveland, Channel 8 sent the crew to New York to
Nice.
fly with him on the way to Cleveland. So they just were always a step ahead. And back in those days, the budgets were different and you didn't have a lot of younger kids right out of school. You had a lot of veterans. You had Bob Sermonera, Martin Savage. Mike Cragen, Mike Conway, just a lot of people with a lot of experience, right? Sandy Lesko, and the list goes on. Tim Taylor, Dick Goddard, right? Um, and I think that, like, I remember they sent Martin Savage to Russia. I mean, who does that? There's no local station nowadays sending anyone to Russia. I mean, they just don't have it in the budget. They don't have the manpower, and they certainly would never do it. Even if we had like a direct economic impact, like a company here was, producing something for the Russians, or relying on something from the Russians, it's just not something you do anymore. And of course, now that technology is more advanced, you don't really have to in some cases. You can just have somebody over there take pictures with their iPhone and just text them to you, right?
Yep.
So there's that element as well. The business has drastically changed from back when I started, but 9/11 for sure, one of the biggest stories I ever covered. And I didn't know this until later, but on that day, I received the phone call in the morning right away from my producer who said, "Pack your bag, you're going to New York." And I was like, she woke me up and I was like, "Huh? What? What are you talking about?" Like, she's like, "Turn on the TV." I'm like, "Oh," she's like, "A plane hit a building in New York." I said, "Why is that a story here?" Like, I was envisioning a small plane hitting a building. I had no
Right.
idea, the scope of it. And then I turned on the TV and I was like, oh my gosh, everybody knew right away we're under attack. And so I packed the bag. I had to make arrangements for my dogs. I had no pet sitter. And then raced to the station. At that point, they thought they were flying me to New York, right? So then I'm there. It's, I don't know, like 11 in the morning or something, 10. When the first plane was what, like 8:20 something or something like that. So yeah, I mean, the hours started going on, and then we're like, okay, we'll take a train. Well, then you couldn't take a train. So now we're taking a news car, and who's going? And they have to pack a bag. And then where are we staying? Right. So, because everybody, all the reporters were converging on New York, you couldn't get into the city. So, all the hotels around the city were already full by the time our poor secretary Chris is trying to make hotel arrangements, and we're 2 hours away in Jersey. So I mean, it took 2 hours to get to our hotel. But when we got there that night, I'll never forget. It was about 10 o'clock, I think, and it was just before 10 o'clock because we had the 10 o'clock news on channel 43, and they set us up. CBS set us up. The way it works with the affiliates is, if you're a CBS affiliate or an ABC affiliate or NBC affiliate or CNN, whatever, you go to your home base, your hub. So the network will set up a hub for all the CBS stations, and then you buy your satellite time from them, and they give you like a 5-minute window. So you might be at 6 o'clock, you might be at 6:03, 6:05, something, whatever it is. It could be 2-minute window, 3-minute window, whatever they allot. Um, so we got there, and very few people had a 10 o'clock news at that time, but Channel 43 did. And so they were racing to get me on the air at 10 from Liberty State Park, which was our setup with CBS. And all of the refrigerator trucks were coming in behind me for the bodies that never came.
Right.
So here's all these trucks lining up. It was so eerie. I'll never forget. I just get goosebumps thinking about it. It was overwhelming. And there were still a few people coming off the boats across the river with that like powder stuff all
Yep.
over them. We saw like one little small group of people, and then that's it. No one else ever came. And of course, we know now why. But it was just the most eerie thing I've ever seen in my life. And then, of course, the next morning, you're watching the fighter jets fly over New York City. There's no air traffic except our military.
Right.
And when we were driving there to New York City, there were virtually almost no cars on the road except the National Guard. So you'd be on the highway for the longest time, and then you'd pass like a National Guard truck. It's like serious, that's just wow. None of
Oh,
us in our lifetime had experienced anything like that.
oh yeah, I mean, I started in the guard. I was in the air guard starting in '95, and I remember after that, it just everything changed. Yeah, I mean, because like
Yeah,
in
didn't
the
it?
'90s, it was all it was you still had these old Vietnam guys. It was just a fun relic from the a lot of the Cold War stuff. Get away with a lot more, party a lot more. After September 11th, man, just deployments started hitting the fan. The benefits got better too. I will say that, but yeah, so much. What to talk about life changing things? Right in the middle, all right, right smack in the middle. Boom. Here's the way the world's upended too. It's kind of
It
wild.
is, yeah,
My
it
goodness.
is. Yeah,
All
I
right.
think it taught us a lot, and I wish that people would always remember. Like I feel like, the networks made this collective decision to not show the towers falling. You know what? I would show those towers falling every single day. We cannot forget. We cannot let our guard down. We can't forget that those people still want to kill us. Okay? It's the threat is not over. It's never over. So, I was reading something the other day about bin Laden's kids now, and their efforts and what they're doing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it will never be over. So, you always have to remember that we're all Americans. I mean, this Charlie Kirk assassination that just happened, I am heartbroken at the reaction. Of course, I'm heartbroken at the incident, right? I mean, it says thou shalt not kill, right? And that
All right.
means everybody. Nobody has the right to kill. I mean, personally, I feel like the only time you ever have a right to kill someone is if you're being attacked and going to be killed. That's it, for my humble opinion. But I
All
am a
right.
Christian, and that's what I believe. So this the reaction online, um and the vitriol, and it's like, look, we cannot be that society. We cannot have that kind of evil in our hearts, because that is the beginning of the end of our society. If that's how we live, if that's how we treat one another, we have lost humanity, and it's just going to continue to go downhill. So, like, people need to get a grip. I mean, imagine if that were your son
Oh,
or your brother or your father. I mean, come on. It is a human life. Does it, if you disagree, you disagree. He was holding a microphone, not a gun. So, you know, it saddens me that as a society we have lost our way in that regard. I think that too many people are afraid to speak up and say, this is not right. It's not right. Under no circumstances is it right to kill another person. Again, unless maybe you're being attacked and your life is threatened. But it's just, it's it's crazy. It's crazy.
it's kind of wild. I mean, it's the thing that struck me as odd about the whole Kirk thing was and it was only on Twitter, now known as X, but like because you go to research these stories, I'm like everybody, you go to social media and
Right.
YouTube, there was nothing, Facebook, there was nothing, but man, for some reason on Twitter, they blasted that footage. Like you could not escape it. I mean, I follow random people, mostly sports guys, a couple news guys, but
Yeah.
man, everywhere you click, and it's like I don't want to. And that was that little specific thing for me just on Twitter struck me as just so odd. Like,
It's
why
so
would they push
sick.
that? Yeah, right. Like, why would they push that?
And,
It
and
makes no
I
sense.
think Instagram did the same thing. I when it first happened and I saw the breaking news alert, I saw the far away version of the shooting,
Right.
which was jarring enough, right? And so then I was praying, um, and then my son said that he had seen the other version, and I was concerned about what he had seen, and that's the only reason I looked at it. I wish I hadn't, because I still have trouble sleeping and it's been weeks.
No,
It
you
just,
know.
It's, it's just a sick world. So I hope to God that the majority of the people can come together. And I mean, back in the old days, talk about my job back, when I was at Channel 8 and whatnot. I mean, look back in the days of Tip O'Neill, right? I mean, back when people argued, back when people had differences, but they worked them out. And even now, I have seen, to their credit, members of Congress or senators on news programs together, a Democrat and Republican, and they say, look, we have differences, but then we go out to dinner, we go out for
Yeah.
drinks. That's what it's like really in reality behind the scenes. And I hate the fact that the media has been so hyper focused on the division in our country, because I really think that they're making it much bigger than it is. I would hope, I would pray, um, based on what I've heard from our lawmakers. Gee, I would hope so. But I mean, look at the guy in Fairview Park. Wasn't he like council president or something who put something bad like on Facebook or on social media? And you're like, gosh, like I hope my neighbors aren't like that, but it's possible, right? So we need we need God. That's my humble opinion. We need more God in our lives. Are you there, Joe? Joe? Oh, Joe.
All right, we're back. The internet just dropped. Dude, it's I don't know what happened to the fucking internet. I hate this. I absolutely hate this. I'm not gonna lie, it's and I was talking to Denise about this before the show. Um I'm so done with, I don't know. I got the StreamYard, between StreamYard and freaking this internet. I'm well, boy, it's been a minute. Testing my patience.
Oh,
Thank you so much for sticking with me and my dog shit ass internet I
that's
got going.
okay. And you can edit it, right?
Yeah, well, it's live, and I can always edit it going on the other side. But
Okay.
it's so apology. Thank you so much for sticking with me
Sure,
and
Joe, no problem.
beautiful. You're a god among saints, as they say.
Doubt
All right,
that.
so hopefully this can go more than the freak seconds without dropping like we do here apparently. But all right, so when you're like a full-time anchor at a major news channel, right? And we know that you're there for the time you're on the screen for the news station. How many other hours are you like putting in behind the scenes? So is it like, and what are you doing? Is it like a lot of annoying meetings like in the service, or you like,
No, not a lot
setting
of
stories like
meetings. Usually you hit the ground running. So if you're
okay,
on at like 4, 5, 6, 11, you work the night shift. It's usually
okay.
3 to 11:30. So depending on the day and if there's any breaking news, I mean, if there's breaking news, you basically drop everything and go in. Um, and that was hard when my son was a baby and I needed childcare. That was really an issue. And inevitably, like, it'd be the ratings period, right? We have ratings in February, May, November, and there'd be a blizzard, right? So, like, my husband's out of town for a work trip, and then the sitter is sick, and then you try to, you know, my mother-in-law's in Medina, so there's only so much you can do sometimes to make do when things happen. Um, but yeah, you work a second shift, and I worked nights for many, many years. When I was at Channel 8, I started off working days, and then I went to mornings where I used to start at 3:30 in the morning, and we did the 6 a.m. show. And then let's see. Then I would do a story after that. So depending on how fast I got the story done and if the person I had to interview was available, I'd be there till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. One night I was live at 6 o'clock at night after being live at 6 o'clock in the morning because there was breaking news. It was like a hostage situation on the east side over by the site center, and SWAT team moved in, and literally the SWAT team truck was parked between our truck and the situation. So we got blocked from our car um, and couldn't leave. And then eventually, I mean, we could have had somebody drive from the station to pick us up, but they had no one else to go to the story. And I was there all day. So they just had me stay till 6 o'clock at night. That was fun. Um, but yeah, normally you'd go in at 3 and start looking at scripts, writing scripts, rewriting scripts. Um, so there's a lot of editing scripts
Mhm.
when you're an anchor. I hope those breaking news alerts are not showing on the screen, are they?
No, no, no.
Um, that's why I keep going like this, moving them out. Um, and so in an anchor role, you do writing, but you also do a lot of rewriting, shortening, making things in your own voice, writing things, fixing things so you don't trip on them. Certain words, if it's a tongue twister, I would put like either quotes around it or breaks, in it, slashes something so it stands out when I see it come up in the prompter. Slow down. This is going to make you stumble. Things like that. Um, so that's a lot of what the job entails when you're an anchor is rewriting, refining, asking questions if the story wasn't fully explained. The other thing that I would always look for also is bias. So some of the young up and coming journalists, no fault of their own, were taking stuff straight from the CBS feed or straight from the CNN feed. Well, I think now over time, people realize that those two news outlets in particular tend to be a little more liberal. So they may not include enough of the other side. I'm not saying they wouldn't include the other side, they may not include enough. So if you have a story on abortion, for example,
Right.
it's always going to be hotly contested. And if you have a 20-second story on some event happening or something with regard to abortion, I would make sure that both sides were in there, So that's something that maybe some of the younger writers at the time just didn't have the time to do or just didn't notice because they weren't used to getting the phone calls. Denise, you said blah, 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 blah. And Denise, you said so, you know, that always was in the back of my mind, trying to make sure that we were not biased. Unfortunately, nowadays the networks have I have no idea what's going on. I think the local stations still do a very good job of being objective, but definitely the networks could, and they could use some help. And I hate to say it, but I can watch the same story on 5 different networks and get 5 completely different stories just based on the slant and the bias. So that does bother me as a journalist. I'm not going to lie. I don't like it. I don't like what has become of the profession. Um, and I think that it's just pervasive in the industry. It's really, and I think that's why a lot of people are just going to social media and other sources for their news nowadays. Personally, I like to listen to many, many different programs
Oh yeah.
to get the slant and to listen for it and then sort of whittle it down to something in the middle of all of them is probably where the truth lies.
Oh,
So,
100%. Well, I
yeah.
enjoy, I mean, I enjoy both sides of it. I mean, I like the rawness and the immediacy of social media. I mean,
Yeah.
I like the story right away. I like the raw on the ground. I'm one of those guys.
Exactly.
I don't like
But
to
you
have.
have to realize, like, I was on there last night and I was looking at some site that I was on Instagram, and it seemed it was some news source that I'd never heard of, probably because I'm fishing around for different things all the time. I get, the algorithm gives me stuff it thinks I'm gonna like, right? But I clicked on some of these videos and I thought, what the heck is this? This is not a reputable news outlet by any stretch. Click. So you
Right.
do have to be careful. I'm not saying don't take it as food for thought. Maybe look into it more, research it, go online. That is one of the things that has happened with the Charlie Kirk thing is, yeah, I happened to be at a communications reunion at Ohio State, like 2 days later, and one of the editors who I used to work with at the Plain Dealer said to me, "Oh, I heard he was a racist and a anti-Semite." And I'm thinking to myself, this was an editor of the Plain Dealer. Do your research. You can't just take what someone else says and believe it as fact. You have to go. And that's what people don't want to do, Joe. It takes time. It's time
Oh, yeah.
consuming. They don't want to bother. They'd rather just take the 15-second clip and say, "Oh, now I know the truth." Well, you don't. And so, it's disheartening, but that's
Oh,
the way of the world
look at the
nowadays.
basic sources, right? I mean, that's the thing that gets in it. And it's the thing I hate, Denise, is that when you say and because you try to correct it, you try to do it in a tactful way, and be like, "Look, dude, this the story you just shared is a complete lie. Like, Jelly
Yeah,
Roll is not donating $50 million to create the world's biggest dog shelter. Like, the logistics are not going to happen." And
right. Right.
it just makes, and then they're like, "Oh, you don't know that's." I'm like, "I kind of do, but I mean, go ahead and
I
wallow in
love
your own
Jelly
journalism."
Roll.
Right, but he's not going to
No,
quit
but he's
work and
not
start.
giving that. I know. I know. I was kind of holding out for Adele for the Super Bowl. I had heard a rumor that it might be her, and I love her, but I think it's Bad Bunny, which should be good too. No, nothing
What makes me
wrong
laugh
with
at the
that,
Bad
but
Bunny thing, people would rather go who as opposed to taking 2 seconds to Google, who Bad Bunny is. I mean, he's quite
right.
popular. He's won many Grammy awards, but that just
Exactly.
that expands on the bigger bubble. We're all in these bubbles. That's where social media got you. If you take one
Yeah.
person's media, another person, it's a lot of it's an echo chamber. A lot of it's just a bubble. They got it down to a science. So that's why
Yeah.
I think if they dismantle some of it, I don't know how they would do it. I mean, you would need a serious commission that really understood tech and understood how to expose algorithms and make it public. And I don't know if
Well, and
anybody.
don't you wonder, Joe, how AI is going to affect those algorithms and the future and what's coming? I mean, if China owns TikTok, and of course they still do as of this recording, what's next? So who's going to be feeding our kids' heads with, whatever propaganda they want them to have? So that's what I worry about with AI. And I think that's why the Pope has made such an effort to bring awareness to that. Being raised Catholic in North Olmsted, I do follow the Pope on Twitter, and I like that he's made a real push to get that out there and get that message out there that we need to be concerned about that and be careful with wisdom going forward.
Oh, yeah. All right. Of all these big sports memories of our lifetimes, late 80s Browns, 95, 97 Tribe, LeBron era Cavs, etc. what sticks out to you as the most fun era? Not necessarily the biggest for ratings, just for you personally. What was the most fun that you've had on as a Cleveland sports fan? Like most fun era?
So I got to sing the national anthem opening day. I think it was 95. It was
Okay.
right after the strike.
Okay. 95. Yeah.
So, and I happened to be friends with the Hargroves.
Okay.
My agent at the time, the late great Ed Keating, who you might remember from Cleveland fame, he had season tickets right next to Mike Hargrove. And I ended up sitting with Sharon. I think I was with my parents and Sharon Hargrove and whoever she had with her at the time, and we became lifelong friends. I just saw Sharon last week. I love them. So for me personally, I mean, it was great when we got LeBron. Don't get me wrong. I remember I was downtown picking up food on dinner break and I was watching the TV, and the whole place just erupted. It was like, "Ah!" I mean, that was amazing. The parade was amazing. When they won, all that stuff. But I always have had a soft spot in my heart for the Indians, now the Guardians, but in those days they were the Indians. And remember, we had a parade just when they made it to the World Series.
Yeah.
They didn't
Yeah.
even win the World Series, and we had a parade anyway because we were so excited.
Uh,
That was cool. I was sitting on top of our live truck at the time in Public Square, and it was just, but I hold a special place in my heart for the tribe. And I love the Browns and the Cavs too, but the Indians just back in the day, that was a really neat time to be
all
a
right, now put
fan.
on your crystal ball cap here. Say you live to be 110 years old, okay? Do you think the Browns will win a Super Bowl in your hypothetical 110-year lifetime?
You really want my answer?
Well, what do you think the deal is? You think there's is Cleveland Stadium just built on an ancient burial ground, or like what? I mean, the sheer math. You went to school. You got 4 years.
Yeah.
A lot of
I
the audience. There might be some master's degree, some doctor. What the Browns have done mathematically is impossible. Like it completely defies statistical probability, and yet they still
yeah.
find a way to do it. Like is this a weird simulation? Are we being tortured? What? I mean, cosmically, what do you think's going on here, Denise? You've been around this for a while. What's the deal with this Browns thing?
I just think it's not a curse. I just think that to some degree, we need to stop supporting that losing mentality as a city, as a people. You
Okay.
know, I never really noticed it until a colleague of mine at Channel 19, who was from California, said to me one day, he was moving his family back out west and he didn't want them to grow up here, his kids. And I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I mean, this is like the greatest place on earth. And he said, I just don't want them to have this, downtrodden loser mentality. And I was like, oh, it was like he stabbed me in the heart. But I gotta say, we do this to ourselves.
Oh,
You
yeah.
cannot continue. Like, look, if you go to a restaurant and they have bad food, right? Are you going back?
Nah.
No, right? Or some servers rude to you or whatever. We have to stop supporting this average, product. They have to get better. And I know I'll take criticism from Browns fans. I'm a lifelong Browns fan. But get it together, okay? It is a business. Hire the right people to get it together. I mean, Baltimore steals our team and they win a Super Bowl within how many years, right? Come on. We can do this. We can do this if we have the right leadership, the right people in place, pay whoever you need to pay, stay away from people like Deshaun Watson. Not happening. When you bring that kind of bad omen into your locker room, you're going to reap what you sow. You
Mm,
have to you have to strive for greatness. You have to make sure everybody on that team strives for greatness. And if they don't, get rid of them. That's it. You have to demand winning. If you're the Haslams or whoever owns the team in the future years to come, demand winning and make it happen. Honestly, moving to Brook Park doesn't make me nuts. I have always felt for many years, having visited Chicago many times back when I was young and single, our lakefront could be so much more. Build it up, make it the jewel that it can be, that it should have been 50 years ago, right? And
Oh, yeah.
it seems like time after time, nothing happens down there. But now you see with, Leadership Cleveland and Destination Cleveland, all these organizations and all these people invest so much time and effort, and they really have a lot of amazing projects going on. I constantly see the progress on LinkedIn, and I'm so impressed by what is happening in downtown Cleveland and the effort, the massive effort to bring business here, bring events here. We've got the Special Olympics coming and things like that. So I don't think it's I think that our leaders have the drive and the will. I just think they might need a little help with the planning. But definitely, if the Browns are moving to Brook Park, let's do something so amazing with that lakefront and make it just awesome, for everybody to enjoy. It could be just the destination place. And I don't even think you need to get rid of Burke. That's my humble opinion. People are like, oh, if we could move Burke. I don't think Burke's moving anytime soon.
Nope, nope.
And and that's fine. I mean, I love going there for the air show and things like that. But you have so much room other than where Burke is that you could be doing great things along the waterfront. So
The
it's
entire
happening.
waterfront from Edgewater all the way to Ninth. They just, I mean, it's like, my
Absolutely.
goodness, you could
Yeah.
just basic stuff. I mean, we was down
Yeah.
there yesterday. We was me and Jimmy was on Saturday, not yesterday, but on Saturday. Me and Jimmy was down at the Rock Hall or down at the Science Center. And we just walking the lakefront. It's just gorgeous. It's nice. Great part of it was the weather was nice. And that's the elephant in the room whenever we talk about, progress in downtown Cleveland. We got shit weather. We can't get around it. But I mean, it's like you said, it's all mindset. I mean, I think the fact that
We know how
we
to dress. We're
mhm,
fine.
mhm. Right, yeah. New York City doesn't use weather as an excuse. They just have people come by and
We
they
put on
work
our
with you.
parkas and go. We're
Right,
fine.
right.
It's not the weather. But if they
No,
want to do a dome and they want to go to Brook Park, God bless them. Go ahead. Let's just do something great. Get it done. Move on. Make it awesome down
well, Brook
there.
Park's also a lot closer to me, so I'm in favor of that. I gotta do all that. I'm not gonna do the Browns tailgate though, because I know they're gonna fuck up the tailgate. Because I know how these people do. They think Denise. They don't want the people going cheap. $20 and a 12 pack of beer and some weed. They want the
Ah,
people paying $130 to get steak tartare and some weird Sauvignon Blanc or whatever the hell the elite crowd does. You know what I mean?
ah.
I think that's where
That's
a lot
club
of the
tailgating, right? Club
right
tailgating.
bougie tailgating and all that. Right.
Bougie tailgating. Yeah. It's not a pot of chili that you made the night before. So.
All right, a couple more questions and we'll get you out of here and we'll have some fun partying during the day. These are some silly ones. What kind of dishwashing detergent do you use?
I think I buy the Dawn pucks, the little pucks. Whatever the
Everybody,
ones they have at Costco, those are the ones I get.
everybody
The
says Dawn. When
yeah.
was the last time you were at the zoo?
Probably it's been about 5 years. My son's
Okay.
grown now, so I don't. But when my son was little, I had the membership and I was there all the time. But yeah, it's been a while since I've been to the zoo.
I would go there
Again,
every
I have
Monday.
allergies, so dep
Oh, I didn't
I
think of that.
can. There are many animals I have no trouble seeing, but if I'm out and there's hay or elephants, horse, anything with hay and barns, and I do, I do have some allergy issues there.
All right, what do you think of the Caribbean and have you ever been to the Virgin Islands?
Never been to either.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. Who are the three? And this is a good one for you. Who are the three most famous people you think you've met in your life?
Well, Hulk Hogan for sure. When I was young and working at Channel 6 in Columbus, loved him. He was so mild mannered too, off camera. You'd never know it. He was talking like this and he's just so soft spoken. And then we're like, okay, are you ready to roll? Well, I tell you, he just like exploded. It was like, oh my gosh. He actually scared me. Like I jumped. I wasn't expecting that. Um, Let's see. I've interviewed Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Ross Perot, Mitt Romney, back in the day, Walter Mondale, Whoopi Goldberg, a lot of people over the years. But I will say this. Uh, a dear friend of mine told me this, and it's words of wisdom, and it's true. He said to me, "It's always the really big stars who never act like it." And that is the God's honest truth. It's always the people who, you know, are for real, who you'd never know it. They're just like the person next door. So,
All right, Beatles or Queen? Who would you pick out of those two bands?
Beatles.
Nice, nice. All right, and what is something you haven't done yet? You're sure you're going to do in the next 5 to 10 years?
Hmm. I would like to go to Slovakia.
Okay.
Because my dad's family came from there. My grandma and grandpa came from there. A lot of people think I'm Italian. I'm actually Slovak and Irish. And I've already been to Ireland many times, and I know my family there. So that's already checked off the bucket list. But definitely, I would love to go to Slovakia someday.
Outstanding. Well, I'd like to thank Miss Denise Dufala for putting up with the technical issues and sticking with us. And you have a great day, my friend. You take it
Thank
easy out
you,
there.
Joe. You take care. Thanks.
All right. We'll see you next time, guys.
Okay.
All
Bye.
right.